Okay, so what are we going to do today? So today we're going to do the first oil change on our C8 Corvette. I got the little sign on the console that says, "Hey, replace oil soon," because we're down to like 5% on the oil gauge, or the timer, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to call it an oil gauge because it's not. So we're fortunate to have a lift here, so it'll be a little bit easier than some of the folks that don't, but let's get down to it here. Okay, so before you start, you have to turn the car on and keep it on for about 20 seconds. So we already did that just getting it into the garage here. Okay, so it's important that you remember to do that. All right, next step here, let's get this thing unscrewed. This is 18 pounds of torque when you retighten this, just so you know. And then we get some gloves on. That always helps. Okay, got some gloves on, got some paper towels here just in case. So let's make sure this is lined up. Seven and a half quarts is what it calls for, just so you know. When you put this guy back on, 18 pounds of torque. There we go. All right. The paper towel comes in handy. Okay, now's a good time. I already did this before I finished wiping it off, and now's a good time to check the O-ring on here. Make sure the O-ring's intact. It's not dried up, cracked, whatever. So the O-ring looks good, so we can reuse it. All right. So this is the oil we're going to use. 7.5 quarts, 0W40. Make sure it says Dexos. It's Mobile One Supercar. All the local car places don't have this, carry it, or run out. So I got cases of this from Amazon. And then the filter that we use is going to be the PF64 AC Delco. Again, got it on Amazon. In case we need it, if we can't untighten the filter by hand, we got this guy here that basically you put a socket on the end and this grabs onto the filter really nicely. Okay, inexpensive unit. I use those for my other car filters actually. And so here's the AC Delco filter. So always the pros and cons, the people, don't do it, other people do. I'm going to fill this up halfway with oil, and then I'm going to take a ring of oil, or a small amount of oil, and just wipe it along the ring, and then I'm going to hand tighten it, and then go about maybe a quarter or more of a turn in addition to that. Okay, so that's what's going to happen there. Okay, so that's pretty much done emptying. It's been about 25 minutes or so. So let's go ahead and pop this guy back on there. And then we can get to the filter. I'd like to do this by hand just to make sure that I'm not crossing any threads. It's going in there nice and smooth. Got my torque wrench here. It's basically set to 18. Okay. Get this out of the way here. All right, so let's get to the filter. Okay, so we're going to use our little tool here. Let's put a 1/2 inch ratchet on it. It should just slide right over it, which it does, and then you should be able to just easily, there we go, give it a nice little turn. Easy peasy. Okay. Let that go. And good time also to check the oil here as well, make sure there's no debris. Oil actually looks pretty clean. And I don't see any debris in here, and there's nothing clogging or clogged up or mucked up in the filter either. So I think that's good. Okay. So I got my oil filter here, and I filled it about halfway with oil, and I'm just putting a little ring of oil around the seal. Okay, now I can screw this guy back in. Okay, once I got it tight, I'm going to take my paper towel here real quick. Some of this oil out off of it. Okay, once you get it in there nice and tight and snug, as much as my hand can go, I'm going to just turn it another like quarter of a turn. I think that should do it right there. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we have to put in, I'm going to put in 7 quarts, a little over 7 quarts. Not exactly 7.5 like it calls for, because I want to run the engine. You're supposed to let it get to about 180 degrees. We'll look at the oil temperature, wait till it gets to about 180 degrees, and then we'll check the dipstick. So let's see about getting the oil in. I have an HTC here, so we're going to put the hardtop convertible into service mode to get the top off, to clear the oil drain plug. We get a funnel, and yeah, all right. So we'll be right back with the next steps here. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so on the hardtop convertible, in order to get the top in service mode, I mean, you can open the convertible top as normal and then try to catch it, at a certain point so it doesn't go all the way. But there's an easier way. If you look at your control, your key fob, if you hit the lock button twice, the lock button, not the unlock, the lock button twice, and then do the top, it'll stop at service mode. You can hold it as long as you like. Let's try again here. Okay. All right. So there it is. There's your service mode. All right. So let's get down to the nitty gritty where the drain plug is. It's on the other side. So we'll get to the other side here. Okay. So okay, that's where you're going to fill it, and there's your dipstick. All right, so we're going to put 7 quarts of oil in here, and a little over 7 quarts, not exactly 7.5 quarts like it calls for, and then we'll fill it up a little bit, as we check the dipstick. Okay. Now, if you don't have a funnel, here's a trick. You can use a paper towel roll, line the inside with like aluminum foil, and use that, or you can just make a little makeshift funnel temporarily. But once you empty your first can or your first container, you can cut the bottom, and now all of a sudden you got a good funnel if you turn it upside down. So it's a little bit of an old school trick there. Okay. And what we have to do before we check the dipstick there is we need to turn the car on and get it to 180 degrees. So let's do that next, and I'll show you an easy way to, well, it's an easy way, just turn the car on, but I'll show you how to keep an eye on the oil temperature, which is what you really want to get to that level of 180. So let's go ahead and do that next here. Okay, so you can see the message I was getting. change oil soon. So we can dismiss that. And then you want to click the oil, click the scroll bar key. Okay, and then you're going to get that says reset engine oil. So click on that. And then would you like to reset the values now? Yes. Okay, and see now the engine oil goes to 100. So that little scroll button there on the right is your friend. Now, if you put this in track mode, the screen will change. Here's track. And there you go on the left-hand side. You should see the oil temperature, which right now is 102. So we'll wait for that to get to 180. It's now at 104. So when it gets to 180, then that's when we can go and check the oil level with the dipstick. And then you can see about how much more oil it'll need. It'll probably need maybe another quarter of a quart, since I didn't put exactly 7.5 quarts in it. All right, so stay tuned. We'll let this go up in temperature, and we'll check it out. Okay, a few things while it's going up in temperature. It's winter here right now, or the beginning of it. It's really, really cold. That's why the tire pressures are a bit low. But I should probably put more in the front tires. So, okay, we're getting up to the temperature. But what we're going to do now is just check underneath the car and make sure nothing's leaking while we're waiting for this thing to get to where it's supposed to go. And with these floors, it's hard to tell without putting cardboard in there, but I don't see any obvious leaks. So that's a good sign, obviously. So looks good. All right. Temperature's at 115 right now. So stay tuned. Okay, so now that we're at temperature, let's take a look. Always wipe the first iteration down, make sure this is dry. Okay, put it back in. Let's take a look at what we've got here. So there's a little checker area. Don't know if the camera can pick this up real well, but we are well inside that checker area, a little towards the top. So I don't think we need to add any more oil. So good thing that we didn't add the full 7.5 quarts. Not that it would have made a huge difference, because it was only like maybe a quarter of a quart short of 7.5. So I think that will do it for us. Close this back up. And we are all set. So that is all it takes to change your oil in your C8. Very simple process. And boy, was everything easy to access. So I hope you got something out of this. And, you know, if there's any tips you'd like to leave in the comments for others, that'd be great. Otherwise, I hope that you are living life to your fullest, because like I always say, you only live once. Life is short. Enjoy it. Peace out.